the Super Bowl this season. I like the Chiefs. I think we all do. But does Seattle have a shot? Can they get out of the NFC? Absolutely. They were my preseason pick the Saints were my preseason pick before Seattle dealt for Jamal Adams. And I thought that actually tipped it in Seattle's direction. Now, at the deadline, the Saints did certain things. Not only did they pick up Emmanuel Sanders, but they also picked up Quan Alexander, a solid linebacker at the deadline. I think it's close now. Could the Seahawks do it? Absolutely. Guys, what's the NFL about? It's about the coach and the quarterback. Pete Carroll made defensive adjustments the second time they played the Cardinals, and you understand that. He is a great coach. The track record speaks for itself. And Russell Wilson, over the last half-decade, over the last half-dozen years, really, has been the best player in the NFL. If you take that entire period together, there's been no one more valuable than Russell Wilson. Yes, absolutely they can win. Let Jamal Adams really get healthy and get in a rhythm and pair him with Bobby Wagner. And can that defense bend but not break? I believe it can. And by the way, offensively, they haven't had their running backs. They only got half of them back, right? They got Carlos Hyde back, still no Carson. And look what a difference it made when they could establish the run. When they get healthy, and a lot of this is about who's healthiest toward the end of the season, like who is healthy and hot at the right time. And Seattle may have suffered their injuries, knock wood, there are no other big ones, at the right time and can get in rhythm headed for the playoffs. And if Seattle is functioning at full capacity, they could absolutely win the Super Bowl this year. They have a subpar defense, but real playmakers on the defense. They have a great quarterback. They have a great coach. They have a running game when healthy. They obviously have the receivers. The answer is yes.
I actually believe it's no, Max. I'm not a believer in the Seattle Seahawks because when you have the defense that ranks dead last against the pass and 28 in points allowed, I'm just not going to be sold on you when I look at this NFC. When I see New Orleans, when I see Tampa, when I see Green Bay, when I see teams like that, and the Los Angeles Rams, who's got a top 2, a top 3 ranked defense in the entire National Football League, I am just not going to look at the Seattle Seahawks with their troubles on the defensive side of the ball and say, hey, they can make the Super Bowl. Obviously, you got a puncher's chance any given Sunday. One of my favorite movies with Al Pacino, LL Cool J, Jamie Foxx, and the crew. I mean, any given Sunday, you can apply that. But outside of that, I'm not being sold on this by the slightest. What I will say is that I am impressed with what has happened, what I've seen Arizona do against DK Metcalf, because we all know what a stud he is. He has 2 catches in the first meeting for 23 yards. Last night, he just had 3 for 46 yards, even though he scored a touchdown. They seem to hold him in relative check. And if I'm the opposing team, I'm looking at what the Cardinals do against him, and I'm going to try to emulate that to the best of my ability. I know Russell Wilson is a stud. I like what I saw Carlos Hyde doing running the football last night, averaging more than 5 yards a carry. But still in all, when you are a defense that has this kind of trouble, and I'm looking at the NFC with the potent teams that they have within the conference, which I've already named who they are, I'm not going to look at the Seattle Seahawks and think this is a team that could go to the Super Bowl. Of course, again, you have a chance, but I'm just talking about realistically from my vantage point, looking at them as a bona fide big-time threat. I would feel much better about them if their defense showed me something. They showed me a little something last night, but it was 4 days. Arizona had just won that game heroically with the last-second Hail Mary that DeAndre Hopkins jumped over 3 Buffalo Bills to grab. But still in all, I just look at Seattle's defense. I've got too many questions to think about them. There's 4 teams I think about before I even think about them right now in terms of a Super Bowl berth. And that's where I'm at with it.
When you look at the Seattle Seahawks, that's the Seattle Seahawks rendition we need to see in order for them to win the Super Bowl. You know, not this YOLO Russ, this Russ that feels like every play is an opportunity to promote his candidacy for the MVP. The not Mr. Unlimited Russell Wilson, the Russell Wilson that offense starts with the run game and a defense that can make enough stops. If we see this type of team, they can win the Super Bowl. If we see this type of team, they can get out of the NFC, because it's not all about, okay, let's get in shootouts. Let's not try to find ways to outscore the other team. Russell Wilson made the right plays last night. When he got out of the pocket and he needed to get 5 yards in slot, he did that. When he had an opportunity to create and hit DK Metcalf for the touchdown, he was able to do that. And Stephen A., you bring up how good the Cardinals did against DK Metcalf. Let's not forget, he had a football hit him in his face mask that would have been a touchdown. He also dropped a crosser that was a catch and run opportunity. And so when you see this team coming along, Carlos Dunlap providing opportunities for rush, getting to Kyler Murray, getting the sack to win the game. Now you have playmakers on different levels, whether it's Carlos Dunlap, Bobby Wagner, or Jamal Adams. I don't think that this team is a front runner to win the Super Bowl. But what you can do if you hold up enough and you run the football enough is give Russell Wilson a chance to make plays late in games. And this is a guy who is still in the MVP hunt. This is a guy who's playing top-level football. And if you give him a chance to make plays in critical situational football moments, I believe you feel good if you're the Seattle Seahawks. This is a start in the right direction. They went up against the #1 rushing team in all of the NFL, and they played extremely well up front. They made the plays in the pass game down the stretch in order to get that final stop. This Seattle Seahawks team has a chance because they have 4 games right now against very poor teams, a lot of NFC East teams where they could be 11-3 headed into the last 2 divisional games of the season, and that's a great place to be for the Seahawks.
Guys, when you think about Seattle and who they have and who they haven't had and what the problem's been, they need shootouts because they don't have a running game because they don't have Hyde or Carson. They can't get pressure on the quarterback because it's not a great defense, but they didn't have Jamal Adams. How did they look yesterday on defense with him back, right? How did they look with even half their 2 backs back, with one of those guys back? It looked different, didn't it? Their offensive line, by the way, which has been much maligned in recent years for good reason, is much better than it used to be. And their recent play has been very good. Now when you get Carson back pretty soon, you're going to be able to take advantage of the improved play on the line. And with Adams back, you're going to be able to pressure the quarterback much better than you used to be able to. And you still got Russell Wilson. They're live for the Super Bowl, Stephen A.
I get you with the live. I just got to see it to believe it. I'm not saying you're wrong definitively. I just have to see it because the fact of the matter is we haven't seen much of that from them. Last night we were applauding them because we saw their defense play better than they have in recent memory. We also saw Russell Wilson trying to overcompensate over the previous couple of weeks, which is why they struggled. We also saw, we obviously know they've got some injuries at the running back spot. We know what we believe in terms of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, the 2 dropped passes notwithstanding. But I'm really talking about comparing that to what we see in the NFC already with Green Bay, Tampa, New Orleans.